Sweet. I want to say welcome everyone to I think this is the fifth or the sixth Bioregional Activators community call. I don't remember exactly, but we've had a handful of them so far. I know that today we have a couple of new people joining us. You guys might see Kieran and Lamia joining us. They're both graduate students at Emory University in Atlanta. And we had a great conversation the other day and are weaving them into the mix with their like super awesome professor, Lori, who I don't think can make it today. But we'll give you more of a sense of why we're engaging with. They're in a sort of a sustainable development program that, as you could imagine, if you learn real sustainable development, you learn it's mostly bullshit, and you learn how broken all the systems are, and then you finish your master's with existential dread. It's just, like, I'm not kidding. That's sort of
That's what you were saying.
that's what we talked about with the professor that we have. And so, just as we're leaning into how do we help the younger folks. Some of the younger folks are kick-ass world-class graduate students, and so we'll be finding more of those people joining us as we go along. Today we want to talk with you all, sort of like we'll do an opening round to say hello and do a check-in. So we'll do that in a moment. But then what we were thinking would be our agenda today is sort of three things. One is we want to give you updates on what's happening with our visit to the Great Lakes that starts in a week and a half, because that has evolved into something sort of incredible, with Cleveland, with Ithaca and Binghamton, with Rochester, possibly Buffalo. Buffalo is the one place that we may let slide because we don't have room for everything. And then a ton of things in Toronto. And so we want to be able to give you some updates on that so you can feel this way that different people have taken leadership, like the way Jonathan Cloud and Victoria Zelenet Cloud have held a Great Lakes conversation, the way that Brian and Susan in Toronto are weaving Toronto and connected us with Cleveland, the way that I connected with David Sloan Wilson to move us into Ithaca and Binghamton. And so there's just like a set of things happening that we want to share with you what is happening and how it's happening so that we can learn from this for future engagements. And I think Benji may have things to share there. Some of you have participated in those calls, so some of you will have your own perspectives on it. We'd love for you to share. And so that's one thing. A second thing is that we're now on the second day of the Gitcoin Alpha round, which is really important because those of you who remember or already know, Gitcoin did their 15th matching round. Hola, buenos dias. In September. We're sitting in the street, so I'll wave at people as they walk by. In September, the 15th matching round of Gitcoin happened, and the Bari-Char Regeneration Fund came in number 4 out of about 300 projects in their climate solutions round and raised $21,000. And we also formed friendships with lots of other great regenerative projects in the crypto and Web3 worlds. And so what they did was they decided to do a major upgrade to Gitcoin, which means they have lots of technology bugs, lots of software bugs that they're working out. And they said, rather than doing a beta test, they actually need to do an alpha test. The alpha test is when your technology is so bad, you don't want to offend your users by asking them to help you fix it. And then beta testing is when it's good enough that you go to your most passionate and engaged users and get their feedback, but you don't turn them off by showing them how ugly and bad it is. So Gitcoin invited 40 projects to participate in an alpha round. And I'm not kidding, all day yesterday was just troubleshooting and giving feedback back to Gitcoin about all the things that don't work, which is incredible learning. But there's $333,000 in matching funds for the climate solutions, $1 million in total, spread across 4 areas. One of those areas is open source software, which is a major focus of Gitcoin and GitHub. So our friends at Giveth, like Daniel Kotabe, they are in the open source round, which is in an alpha round, and we're in the climate solutions round. But many of our friends are in the climate solutions round, like Solarpunk, Refi Spring, Ecolabs, which is Seven Sam's project, Recommon, which is Alex Corin's project, and others. We actually have a lot of friends that are in this climate solutions round, and we're all playing with how to share $333,000 in matching funds, and that lasts for another 13 days. So I want to talk a little bit about that today and how you can be involved and what it means to try to contribute to a broken technology platform that's in an alpha round. So that we'll be very, very forgiving of Gitcoin where they are. I think it's phenomenal that they're including us in this way. I mean, I really do. We're co-creating the platform by looking at all of its broken parts. We're like under the hood with them, which is phenomenal. And we're likely to get money for Bioregions projects. So that's the second thing. And then the third thing we want to talk about is, those of you who are here with us last week will know, we hinted that we're getting more clarity how to organize all this work. And we want to talk to you a little bit about how we are, meaning Benji, Penny, and I, are holding a very focused design process to birth a design school for Earth regeneration, which we plan to publicly launch on March 1st. And it'll be a way of containing and making coherent a lot of what we're doing. And so we want to talk a little bit about that near the end of today's call. And that'll bring up a lot of interesting issues as in how does this relate to Earth regenerators and its 3-year history? How are we structuring the work so that it makes sense and people can participate? How are we funding it? All kinds of things that are going to start to come up. We won't be able to cover all of the ground of that today, but we want to start opening up the conversation and sharing with you what we're doing, because we see there being a transition process to bring this into the world. And so I'm actually going to ask Benji if he can facilitate our opening circle, because we can't see everyone on the call. But all we're going to do is just a quick check-in. First of all, how many people are on the call? 13. Okay. We got a small enough group that I think if everyone takes like up to a minute to do a check-in, you know, like basically you could say just a word or two, or you could give just a little sense of how you're doing. But we do have a pretty significant agenda. So if we can keep it kind of brief, then we can all just do a quick check-in. Maybe I'll go first, pass it to Penny. Penny can pass it forward, and Benji can see who we missed since we can't see all of you. And what I would say for my check-in is I am learning a little bit of Benji's world because I've become sick in an unusual way. And it turns out that I have some kind of intestinal parasites, and they're doing all of their beautiful work on breaking down my immune system and causing me to do things like have massive weight gain and become bloated and have parts of my body go numb and have loss of energy. And so I'm getting tests done with a local clinic, have an amazing internal medicine specialist here in Barichara who is helping me. And we've identified probably what it is, or we'll know within the next 2 or 3 days. But I'm sitting in the reality of that as I try to rest and prepare for 2 weeks of insanity, where I'm going to give at least 20 public talks in 2 weeks while traveling to 6 different cities. So we hope that I can get this figured out in the next week. That's how I'm doing without talking about all the work. I could say things about Elisa's 6th birthday and how amazing that is and other stuff, but I'll let it sit right there for now and pass it over to Penny.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've been dealing with all the same things and giving Joe lots of love. And I am, maybe I'll talk about Elisa's birthday party, which was insane in itself, like an all-day preparation with 20 kids and 20 adults, maybe 50 people in our house, and kids running around and breaking toys and doing all sorts of damage and having fun. It was insane. It was like 5 hours of,
and the adults all sitting around the other side ignoring the kids getting drunk.
Except for Joe, who
welcome to Barichara.
Joe in his pirate hat and running around, with all the kids. So anyway, that's our world right now. So getting excited for going on our trip too. So let's see, I'll pass. I can see Gail. I'll pass to you, Gail.
Well, I have to say it was my daughter's birthday too. Your daughter and my daughter's birthday are 1 day apart. Emma's on the 13th. So she turned 25. Oh my God. And of all things, well, we're very restricted in what we do because COVID is a very big concern for us. So we went to the Forbidden Forest experience in Westchester, New York, Harry Potter. Emma said it's what she would have loved to do when she was 10. So she's doing it when she's 25. And it was nice. Hoping I can work this out to see Joe and Penny in person. on February 5th. I still have to know for sure if it's going to work for you guys. And then I have to make sure there's not going to be snowstorm because I don't want to drive to Binghamton in the snow. So assuming all that works out, I may be going to Binghamton to visit with them. And David Sloan Wilson, who I do have met through the pro-social class that One Earth has been taking. So I don't know him personally, but I have met him there. Other than that, I'm good. And I will pass it to Dan.
I'm only Dan here. Hey, thanks, Gail. Great to hear. Yeah, I felt ill a couple of days ago, and I think I'm past the peak of it. Forgive me. I'm in Santa Marta, Colombia. I'll be here for another couple of weeks, and then I'm going to be heading to Barichara, 2 or 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I guess, before Barichara. And about the last half of February, you'll see me pop up there, and I'll be beginning work in earnest there. Learning what the land needs, being on the land, being in the community. I think the social aspect of what we're doing is really, really critical. So as we all know, so Grace, would you like to take the baton?
Sure. I'm here in Slovenia. I actually looked at a piece of land this weekend. That was kind of fun with a friend. And I had Joe in my workshop yesterday as our guest speaker, and it was fantastic. And the recording will be available to everybody as well as the transcript. And I've just been really excited about all the opportunities in Europe for getting together with other people. And I've been reaching out to other people who might be bioregional activators and trying to, really create something here. And so with that, I'm going to pass to Antonio, of course, my neighbor.
Just really enjoying the slowness of winter here. And I have my friend Darina who is here. So I've been getting her the deep dive and kind of helping me to see with a different set of vision, as she's a coffee expert, and it helps to kind of expand my thinking around olives. And I went to a wine festival over the weekend. It's a tough life, I know, but trying to translate these different stories, I think, has been a theme for me the last week, as kind of we have these contrasting narratives of, like, flying into Davos, and then you have, the ground that we're doing on the work, and holding coherence in between these two very distinct stories. So I feel like there's so much potential for all the experiential capital that we built up to share, and people are eager to learn. I think that's what's been, I think, taking for granted that we have such a deep pool of expertise here. So that when I go into other, conversation circles, and I'm sure we all experience this, but it's like, oh, wow, I forgot, we aren't taking that, not everybody knows about bioregionalism, for example. And just trying to figure out ways to make that accessible to more people, especially as I'm catalyzing some of the community here in Sicily. And I think there is coherence. I feel it. I feel it deep below the noise. So excited to pull some of these threads together. And let's see, I'll pass it to Yen.
Okay, I have learned that I need to check in the participants if Jen is here or not, to avoid any confusion. Thanks, Antonio. I'm well. I'm very busy. I'm having a lot of progress in building stuff and connecting with people, but I'm sitting my ass flat, to be honest. So I miss a little bit of getting out like we did in Barichara. So that's currently my situation. I am going with Claire. How about you?
Thanks, Jan. I think maybe the thing to bring out of what's happening for me is, there's a lot of chaos in the sense that there is so much on the move. I'm trying to live between Victoria and Cowichan. Things are really getting going there. I think the main threads to just bring in is the level of synchronicities that are happening, and the people around me keep saying the same thing as connections are made. And also just in that kind of, it feels like chaos in a way, because there's just so much stuff happening. And it's like really just learning to pay attention. Well, I think it's something I do, but it's just more so paying attention to what's calling, what do I need to pay attention to? And those are the things that sort of are the places that I kind of feel like I'm navigating by. So I just wanted to bring that up. And then also just to throw this out there, and I can't ignore it, but I have a really deep history in South Africa. And my dad was a botanist. He died quite early, but had helped to set up the systems ecology at Wits University. And there are just so many connections there. And there's a conference that my life sort of feels like the work I've been paying attention to here, I was invited to be part of that. And it's many of my dad's colleagues as well. And I just sort of feel like I don't really want, it's too long ago that I was there, but I've got many connections there and feeling like if there's work that can be pulled together when I go down there in June, just that's calling to me. They're just some unresolved things, and it has a lot to do with my relationship with my dad, but I just wanted to throw that in there because it's sort of out of left field in a way. I am going to pass to Midi.
Thank you, Claire. I kind of knew you were going to pass to me. Please keep in touch about South Africa, because I've still got so many contacts from when I worked there. And yes, I think it's really important that you go. So I support you to go. What have I been doing this week? I saw a message on the Earth Regenerator site yesterday, and so I spent the morning applying on behalf of Vivero for the Edge Prize of the Salmon Nation. No idea whether and how it will go as a prize application, but I thought it was really valuable to make that link for Vivero. The Salmon Nation are active in West Coast of North America, and so let's see where that goes. I spent yesterday evening with a group of friends exploring what are we going to do with the project incubator in Earth Regenerators this year. That's a really key piece for incubating people and projects. I've been flying between my communities, a very dear young friend in a state of acute collapse after being beaten up last year. It's kind of ironical to me that now he has been pronounced as a terminal patient, he can have all of his hospital expenses paid, all his medical expenses taken care of, when if he had been given the treatment he needed in September last year, rather than being sent home with fractured spine, collapsing lungs, etc., he might not be a terminal patient today. There's something very sick about a wealthy country that doesn't take care of its vulnerable ones. So that's my quick check-in, and I'm going to see how Stephen's doing.
Thank you, Midi. Well, in the past week, I bought my tickets one way to Barichara. I don't know how long I'm staying, at least until mid-March, where Erica and I are going to be exploring a future partnership together. And so I'm excited about that. I've got just under 2 weeks now, and the physical objects in my space are not doing much moving, but I'm moving a lot of energy in my system, a lot of healing going on, a lot of new awarenesses, really feeling into my body and feeling into the flow. So I'm having to trust that the stuff will get out of here, even if I end up having to just pay a junk hauling company to take it all away at the end. I may need some more emotional support from you, Penny, but I know you're planning to leave, so I don't know how much you're available. And I'll get a chance to meet Dan finally in person. Well, I'll see you there. So, Benji, it's your turn.
All right, thanks, Stephen. I got to meet Dan in person once. That was a while ago, huh? How random was that? Well, it wasn't random, but I was traveling through Sacramento and stopped by, and he gave me some dog treats that lasted quite a while. Thank you for that. My dog was grateful too. Yeah, where am I at today? I've just been trying to figure out how we can cultivate a space of support, space where we can build energy in the bioregional catalysts in this like sort of network of bioregions that we're bringing together, and learning how to do so. And how can we build energy and support in that space, clarity, coherence for the bioregional activation in the Great Lakes. So it's one of the things I've been sitting with for a while. In an hour and a half, we're going to host a session where we're just kind of exploring, experimenting, and practicing pro-social at the planetary scale as a network. So looking forward to seeing where that conversation goes. I'm pretty excited about it. And I'll leave it at that. And I don't think we have heard from Will yet, or Kieran.
Hey,
Or
I'm
Rachel.
Will. Yeah, I'm Will. I'm in Texas, and I'm kind of connected to a place here, which is good and bad. We're in like the Southern High Plains, and started a Ogallala Life, which is a nonprofit, and we're trying to explore these Web3 tools to do regenerative work in our part of the world, which is just I don't know, a colony and all that name, I guess, kind of like many other parts of the world. It's being exploited very quickly, and sometimes I think we can do good, and sometimes I think we're crazy to even try, because there's pretty huge momentum to just keep doing things the way we've been doing them. Like Refi Barichara, we're part of the Gitcoin round. We're in the Ag Bundle, and so if y'all do donate on Gitcoin, donate to the Ag Bundle also, please. And then we're also part of a group called Demeter, and that is also in the Gitcoin round. And it is a pain in the butt. And sometimes I'm not sure that the money is worth it, but like the relationships are. And so I think that's a good thing for this group to be doing. Rachel.
Thanks, Will. Yeah, so I'm here in Barichara. Been here for a little bit. I came here in August, and to explore this self-guided learning journey, which has just blossomed and mushroomed into all kinds of things that I hadn't anticipated, but have been super cool. And I feel as if I'm really in some ways kind of coming into my own at 62 years old, and finally starting to really find my voice and get over my fear of saying what's in my heart publicly to the world. So I'm not sure where that's going to go, but I feel very called to this idea that we're here in this circle, we are already collapse aware, but I feel like out there in the world, more and more people every day are becoming who I was 3 years ago, and they don't know what to do, and they don't know where to go, and they don't know who to talk to. And I feel that it's just kind of fallen into my heart that those are my peeps. That's my mission, is to try to figure out how to find them, reach them, and help them find their way into the new paradigm. So that's seems to be kind of what I am exploring at the moment, and it's keeping me very busy. And so even though Joe and Penny are 2 doors down, I don't get to see. We pass food bowls back and forth, but that seems to be about it right now. So,
Hey, Rachel, on
anyway.
that front, is your internet working?
Yeah.
Okay, Penny just went on to see if ours was. The internet of the whole town has been down all morning.
Oh, mine's been fine, which is weird
It's
because
like,
usually our neighborhood's the first one to go down and the last
yeah,
one to go back
it was
up.
basically resetting the modem every 5 seconds. Penny's gonna come out in a minute. I'll see if I can be on the computer. Anyway, just checking.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
very strange that your internet works, because it doesn't work anywhere in the town square or anywhere else.
Joe Penny is on the computer, so you can just go in.
Woohoo! All right, Penny, is it working?
She seems to be.
No, she said it's not working. So
Oh,
Hey, you guys want to? You're welcome to come down to my place. Set up
I'll
here.
check in with Penny about it, but I think maybe pass it forward so we're not interrupting the flow anymore.
Yep. Okay.
Kieran?
Kieran is the last one.
I
Oh, and
will
Mikhail.
pass
Mikhail.
pass to one of the two.
How about Kieran, since
Kieran,
Michaela's
yeah,
still
let's, yeah,
connecting?
let's, I will pass to Kieran. Hello, Kieran.
Kieran, are you there? Are you able to unmute and let us know how you're doing?
She just wrote in the chat, hey, everyone, Kieran and Lamia joining in from this end. Today, feeling kind of stuck as we're currently in class, sharing headphones and joining discreetly.
All right. Well,
Oh yeah, they did say that they were gonna like pretend they were in class and actually be in our class.
She said they
So
won't
Benji,
be able to unmute and speak up.
so Benji, is that the last of the opening round? Everyone
Mikkel
covered?
just arrived as well.
Mikkel, do you want to check in and tell us how you're doing?
Maybe he's not quite ready either. I'm not up. He just unmuted.
Yeah, I'm just saying hi. I just joined. Good to be here, guys. Just here to listening.
Cool. Well, it's good to hear your voice, Mikkel. Maybe then I'd like to move us into a discussion of what is happening with the Great Lakes region because, oh, and there's Chad. Welcome, Chad. Glad Chad is here. Chad, you want to check in and say hello real quick?
He doesn't have audio yet.
Okay.
Oh, he's still connected.
Well, we'll go ahead and keep rolling because we have a lot to cover. What I think what I would say is the most powerful thing about what we're seeing in the Great Lakes right now is how anchoring ourselves to one place that is really doing a lot of work is inspiring other places to step up their game. And then the fact that we're seeking to create multi-bioregion connections where we enter into one place and are very happy and willing to go to a neighboring place. That combination is I think what's really like making all this happen. Because basically, as some of you know, Brian and Susan in Toronto have like more than a decade, I think they may have close to 20 years of trying to do systems transformation work in the greater Toronto area. And I think they'd be the first to tell you that most of their lives has been building giant calluses on their foreheads from banging their heads on walls. That doing that kind of work is extremely difficult in general, and even more so in an entrenched system like a major metropolitan area. And so they saw the opportunity of inviting us to come in some ways as their last hurrah, meaning they'll go all in, and if it doesn't work, then they'll at least know they tried. Or they'll go all in and this will actually catalyze some kind of change because they know how hard the work is that they've been trying to do, which, you know, it's really painful to be inside a network of systems, know a lot of things that need to be done, know a lot of the actors and connection points in the system, and just watch the whole thing keep going in the same direction year after year, after year, after year, after year until you die. And then your grandchildren watch the same thing after your children did. You know, like this is what a lot of systems change work actually, sorry, a motorcycle went by. That's what this kind of systems change actually feels like a lot of the time. And so for them to, you know, basically pull out their Rolodex and create an epic sweep of events for us. We're gonna have like in a span of 5 or 6 days, we're gonna have something like 10 or 12 events. It's sort of mind-boggling. But one thing that's connected to this is that we are proactively deepening our relationships with Pro Social World and with Common Land Foundation. And so since I knew that we were already talking to Jonathan and Victoria in Rochester, and that Rochester isn't that far from Ithaca, and Ithaca is where David Sloan Wilson lives. And those of you who don't know, David Sloan Wilson may prove himself to be one of the most important biologists of our time for all of the work that he's done. I would say he's a minor celebrity in the world because he's not really very well known. Like compared to someone like E.O. Wilson, Edward Wilson, who is you know, a world-renowned figure. And so David Sloan Wilson is similar to me as like a celebrity in tiny circles, but is unknown everywhere else. But he's made major contributions to complexity science, economics, and the applications of cultural evolution to human challenges, to, you know, cultural evolution writ large. And so I've known David for about 10 years. We're good friends. He and I we wrote and received the grant from the Templeton Foundation to set up the Cultural Evolution Society in did that work together. So just to say that when I reached out to David and said, can we come and visit you? Because I was already asked to give a seminar to the students at the University of Binghamton's Evolutionary Studies program. It's called EVOS, which it was actually created by David Sloan Wilson while he was a professor there. He's now retired, so he can devote himself full time to pro-social world. That I was asked to speak at EVOS a year ago and couldn't do it. Then they asked me again to be in their graduate seminar series this year. I said yes a couple months ago, and they put me down for February 6th. So when all of this came together, that we were probably going to go to Rochester on February 6th or sometime close to then, I just reached out to David and said, should I give this talk in person in Binghamton? And could we come visit you? And what that opened up was, we'd already been talking about forming a deep formal collaboration with Pro-Social World on the dual fronts of bringing pro-social training into on-the-ground practice in communities with all of the communities we're connecting with. Those of you who know the history, Earth Regenerators has been like an incubator of pro-social facilitation and pro-social training. So we've been a catalyst for their organization, and many of us have been trained, become certified facilitators. We are champions of celebrating their work. And so that is a very nice continuity with what we've already done. But then the other thing is that David and I need to pick up again the work that we did in 2013 through 2017, which is that David and I were part of I would say an elite squad or a task force of academics and practitioners in the cultural evolution space, trying to synthesize knowledge from cultural evolution research, bring it into practice, and take quantum leaps of advances in intentional social change. And so with our dear friend Mila, who many of you know and love, who has been like an indigenous elder spiritual weaver across the planet for impact investors, high net worth individuals, and strategic organizations, she has positioned David to speak at the Royal Society for the Arts in London on January 30th. So he's going to do a traveling roadshow for about a week, including going to Reading to visit our friend Richard Coates, who many of us know, who does work with pro-social and is promoting bioregionalism there on the River Thames. I call it the Thames River, and all the British people laugh at me. It's the River Thames. Oops. And so anyway, it's very timely that our traveling roadshow is now going to include a full day in Binghamton with all of David's connections there, and then a full day in Ithaca, where he lives, which is also where Cornell University is. And he has multi-decade connections to lots of community groups. And David and my focus is going to be, how do we tell the story that the new paradigm of economics that replaces neoliberal capitalism is basically a blend of complexity and evolution, and it's multi-level cultural selection and other tools from cultural evolution research, which is what David will be speaking about in London on the 30th. Many of you have already seen the link in the Telegram group or on Earth Regenerators. Please sign up and tell your friends to go to David's talk. He's co-presenting with a man named Dennis Snower, who is a similarly important complexity economics thinker. So that talk already has more than 500 people registered. I think it could be a historic event if we can create the follow-through around it. And just for context, David will be meeting with my friend, Kate Raworth of Donut Economics the following day. And so we're forming threads across a world of leadership that Mila has been helping to cultivate. And so then David's going to return the day after he gets back from England. He's going to spend 2 days with us in Ithaca and Binghamton. And then we're going to go on to Cleveland, where Brian and Susan's connections in Cleveland are phenomenal. There's this guy, Peter Whitehouse, that all of you will fall in love with as soon as you meet him. He was on the Great Lakes call yesterday. He's just like, he's one of those unique shining lights of humanity. Just incredible. And there are also several other wonderful people. Some of you may know Kim Chappell, who's floated around in Earth Regenerators a bit. She is there in Cleveland as well. They are both affiliated with Case Western University. And so we're organizing a power-packed couple of days in Cleveland. And I just want to make a comment about Cleveland. and about Rochester, and about Buffalo, and about the vacation we took in St. Louis, which is that every one of these cities are Rust Belt cities. They're post-industrial collapse cities. They were major locations of the industrial era, and their economies collapsed in the last 30 to 40 years. And they are in a regenerative renaissance. Like Detroit is sort of the poster child of this, but there's really a Rust Belt, a collection of cities in the United States that are connected to this. Toronto has its own connections, as do other Canadian cities. The Great Lakes was a nexus of industrialism. If you start leaning into places like Pennsylvania, which is a part of where the whole oil age and petroleum era of fossil fuels got started in Texas and Pennsylvania, the discovery of crude oil, that these connections to industrialism and post-industrialism, it's a really big deal we're going to the Great Lakes. And so what I just wanted to say is that all of this is transforming. And because I learned that my book is going to be removed from a distribution contract with Chelsea Green, and I've got about 500 copies of my book, I made arrangements with Chad Monfreda and with Asta Castanguay to have each of them receive about 100 copies of my book so they can physically deliver them to us. And our traveling road show is going to include having books for people to make donations to cover our travel costs. And we sold 127 books online last year. I think we distributed 300 or 400 through the learning journeys on ER. I think we'll sell more books in a week in Toronto than a year online, with the absence of help from Chelsea Green, who does zero marketing for us because they're not even our publisher. And so I actually think losing that distribution contract is going to help my book get out in the world. But that's just a funny little piece of the story. I want to invite either Penny or Benji to share anything they would like about what we're learning as we see these social supports for the story, like what Benji's doing with Bioregional Catalyst, what Jonathan is doing with the Great Lakes conversations, what Penny is doing, and just she shows up to a lot of the sessions and holds coherence by feeling into the relational field. So I don't know if Penny, if there's anything you'd like to share, or should I pass to Benji?
Pass to Benji first.
Benji, is there anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, I can make this really brief, actually. This was mentioned in the Great Lakes Basin call either yesterday or last week. I think it was yesterday. But it was a reflection on Jonathan holding the space and putting out the invitation, and people just came. And it's like the world is ready for this and just wanting it so badly. It just needs the pathways available to walk. And so I just wanted to point that out. If you are somebody in a bioregion who's wanting to get things going locally, I mean, just holding space for conversations is an amazing place to start, because so many people are responding to this. It goes deep. I think that intuitively people feel that this wants to happen and landscapes want this to happen. So I just wanted to share that excitement.
Yeah, and is there anyone else who's been participating in this activation process that would like to share? Just share what you're observing happening.
I got like a comment on that. It's like, I agree, it's really useful for y'all to be able to get together, and I'm jealous because there's like we're in a very rural area. We're very spread out. And so like, how can this bioregional activation happen? How can we get together or provide a space to get together whenever we're spread out in a bunch of small communities?
Yeah, no, well, I'm from Southwest Missouri. I know what you're talking about. It's like a 20-minute drive to your neighbor's house. You're like, I'm gonna go visit my friend. That's just normal. So I totally know what you're talking about.
Well, yeah, except like hours even, because like right, like the same groundwater, like Kansas are dealing with the same issues that we are. But yeah, that's funny. Anyways, anyway, that's just I'm trying to figure out, like, how do I adapt this to my bioregion, and that's what comes to mind.
Yeah, Penny wants to share something.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, but I also just wanted to share, I feel like what's happening, like with the call yesterday that Jonathan held, that's so exciting as the different bioregions, but in an area like a region, the Great Lakes region, with these different bioregions starting to connect, it's like little sparks going off in these different areas. And just to see all these people from the different bioregions around the Great Lakes in one call, I feel like that's the power of this. It's not just, and it's the support that everybody can give to each other from the different bioregions. So it's not just one bioregion, but everybody not feeling like it's like at a like this bigger scale of each bioregion not feeling alone anymore, and they can support each other. And it's really that's what I'm feeling, like these sparks coming alive. It's beautiful.
Yeah, thanks for that, Penny. Is there anyone else who would like to share? Rachel, please.
Just really briefly, I just want to chime in for the Driftless bioregion. It's somewhat close to the Great Lakes, but I think our body of water is really the Mississippi River. Another, I think, really crucial element in when we look at North America and what's happening there. And just to say that, yeah, we're having the same experience. And what I see is that the earth regenerators and bioregional activators and the kind of common land model and all of that, what that brings that I am not seeing anywhere that I think is really crucial. And then this idea of linking bioregions together is this overarching big picture. That's, we have lots and lots of people doing lots and lots of things, but they're not connected. And if we can find a way to connect these people to each other in a way where they can share an identity that then extends to other people in other bioregions, I think that's the key. That's the key to really moving us forward, in big ways. So I'm excited about that.
Joe, you're muted.
Oh, is he talking?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I said, sorry, yeah, we're just moving ourselves because we were sitting in front of someone else's door. Yeah, is there anyone else that wanted to share relating to the Great Lakes or just as an observer of what's happening?
I just would like to loop back to Will's comment. I think we actually need to hold in mind the notion that not everything is transferable, and that there may sometimes be places where the conditions are so different that what works here doesn't work there. In relation to that, I also have the sense that North America needs to get reconnected in a way that maybe where you are, Will, doesn't. There are resources, there are strengths, there are qualities that I certainly found working in deep rural Africa, in places without electricity, or places without clean water, that there is a resilience and there is a community strength which actually North America could be envious of. So just holding the fact that you may be in a very, very different environment, and at some higher level, there is benefit in connection where we can find similarities and where we can find ways to support each other. Thanks very much.
Yeah, so what I think is really powerful about this, in one sense, is like we started saying we're going to activate bioregions, that phrase, the beginning of October. And what we're finding is we truly are activating bioregions, or rather they are activating and we are all participating in it. And what's really powerful to me is that we stumbled upon this recipe of connecting parallel bioregions in the way that we dropped into Colorado. We didn't have this beautiful strategy that we'd go to 4 neighboring bioregions in 1 week. That's just who invited us. And then when we did, we saw the power of doing it. And just to reiterate the importance of this open learning and exploration. And once we saw that worked, we immediately took it and said, we're going to Toronto, let's reach out to Jonathan. And on that call with Jonathan Cloud, he said, oh, we're not really ready to receive you. We want to invite you, but we're not ready. But let's talk about it. And then he started hosting the Great Lakes Basin calls to see if there was interest, to see if they could host anything. It wasn't because they knew what they were doing. In a sense, there was they knew they didn't know what they were doing and they needed to learn. And I think that was also really, really powerful. So what I'd love to do is, if it's okay, is shift gears. Oh, Grace, go ahead, please. Or take a sip.
I just want to say what I'm hearing, which is like what's showing up for me, which is that it's actually the planet and the ecosystems themselves that are causing this to happen. And it seems like it's occurring to us just the same ways that we think that we're having thoughts, but the thoughts are actually just occurring in the space that we call me. And it just seems like there's, as soon as you open up your eyes and say, okay, I'm committed to this cause, the earth just shows you where to go. And that's all there is. It's not really us doing it. It's us as part of the wholeness of the planet and being instruments of the planet.
How many exclamation points can I put behind a yes for that one?
How many you got, man?
I'm just gonna hit the, I like put a little rock on the button.
Analog or digital?
Yeah. Can I do it to the power of Googleplex? For those of you who don't know, Googleplex is Google raised to the power of a Google. And a Google is one with a million zeros behind it. Just FYI. Gail, is there something you wanted to share?
Well, I just want to read a message that Kieran put in the chat. It's a long one.
Oh, please do.
We're going through what feels like a disconnection from the land here in Atlanta, especially in my development practice grad program. Main thing is finding a space to hold these conversations and make the connections to bring people to the table. We're making strides, though. Had a wonderful call yesterday with an organization called Global Growers, trying to connect my regen course at Emory with them to give students a better connection to the landscapes. They also have a network of community gardens around the city and also just bought a farm that they hope to turn into an inclusive hub. And she includes a link to them. And I have a question. I have to go shortly. Where is this recording going to be posted for this meeting? Because I'd like to watch what I'm going to miss. I'm
going to post it to YouTube. Benji's going to pass it to me, so it'll be in the normal place. And then I'll share it around.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. And just, Kieran is a man and Lamia is a woman. They have beautiful names that are not normal here in the West. Lovely, lovely, diverse presentations.
Joe, your audio is really muffled suddenly.
Did I touch something wrong? Is it working better?
Yeah, it's good now. Maybe your finger was over the mic.
Could have been. Yeah. So I was saying Kieran is a man, Lamia is a woman, and we love having them here with us. I want to talk briefly about Gitcoin, and then I want to move over and have more time for the discussion of the design school. I think the main thing to say about Gitcoin is that after the last round that happened in September, they received a lot of feedback that they needed more capacity for collaboration, and they needed more collaboration across the projects that are being supported, and that they needed more capacity for people to set up and run their own fundraising on the platform they were creating. I think there was other feedback than that, but what they're doing right now in this alpha round is they have rebuilt parts of Gitcoin to enable people to set up their own Gitcoin funding structures, because it's all built on open source software. And so this is why it's so important for those of us participating in this alpha round to help them improve their technology, and especially the usability of their technology, so that people who don't know how to use this tech can use it more easily. Because one thing that they're doing right now that I don't understand how the technology works, and maybe someone else here does. Yes, Jan, I'm looking at you. Maybe you would know, is that they have decided, I don't know if you know this one or not, but Antonio might know as well, is that they decided to have the 40 projects that were sort of the most successful climate and environment projects. They have all of them competing in this round. We're all cooperating with each other. We have a Telegram group and we're all working together. But they also have a set of bundles, which means they've created other themes And all of the projects that can't participate in this round are getting a thing called a drip, which is that some of the money that's coming in, that's what Will said, is that there's an agricultural bundle. What that means is they bundled about 30 other grants that can't play in this round because this is a prototyping round. And they're going to take, you can donate money to that bundle and they'll distribute the total donations to that bundle. So you can donate to an individual project or a bundle of 30 projects. And so there are 10 bundles by different thematic categories, and there are 40 individual projects. And you can already see the power of this. This is structured for a network of bioregions. A bundle of grants is a tapestry of local projects, a portfolio of local projects. And whereas a grant might become a bioregion. And so you can already see that some of the infrastructure of Gitcoin is going in the direction we want them to go. And that's without talking about Giveth doing similar things, Spirals doing similar things. There are actually people in the Web3 space trying to create these tools for us. And so, Antonio, did you say that you had could you give it a little explanation of this to share a little how this technology is coming forward?
Yeah, I mean, I can just speak from my viewpoint as I'm not behind the scenes at Gitcoin. But what I see as I used to design and build irrigation systems, and different trees, different zones have different watering requirements. So when I see this type of kind of micromanaged drip irrigation, this is what my mind goes to. And I think this is the metaphor as we start to rehydrate landscapes and as we start to do more funding activities to try and link these metaphors closer together. And it's funny because Dorina does a carbon coffee collective, which is in a bundle. But if you've gone through the checkout process already, it's like, I want to just donate to all of these groups in one click. But we have to go through a labyrinth of different hoops to get the transaction through. And we're still looking at, $20 transaction fees on Ethereum mainnet right now, which is cost prohibitive. So I think, it's great that the experimentation is happening. It's almost gotten too complex. So I think hopefully the feedback after this alpha round will be to simplify dramatically. But I'm happy to see that this kind of portfolio approach is starting to seep deeper into the design process. But yeah, I mean, there's I would like to see where Gitcoin grows from here. If it does go off of Ethereum mainnet, will be interesting, but this is TBD. But yeah, that's what I have. I'd be curious to see what Jan thinks of this round.
Yeah, technically, it doesn't make sense to dive into that, and I'm also not that deeply involved, but the intention here is pretty clear to make this entire funding framework that Gitcoin is more self-manageable, right? That's the goal, that projects like the Territorial Foundation don't have to wait for an official round for them to get ready. It's more self-management and also more flexibility to use these mechanisms to put a funding structure out there that serves you better than being part of one growing pot every 3 months that where you have to live in their cadence. So that's a positive, right? But the technological change is very large under the hood to give people more tools. It increases the complexity, as we heard, of using it. But everybody thinks it's a step in the right direction, but it's not a shiny service that people pay money for. It's open source software, and that takes a little bit longer for people to find all the bugs and get it right. What I want to say real quick is interestingly, right, the metaphors that people talk about in terms of the drips, for example, I start to see these reappear in other places. Basin DAO, our friend Timo is talking about streams, which is that you can set up funding and you don't really have to decide how much do I give each of 50 projects. You set up a stream of funding and it drips or it runs down from like a watershed from smaller projects into larger pools where people get their money or other things out of it. So I thought that was maybe interesting to mention.
Yeah, thank you, John, and thank you, Antonio. What I would say from my perspective, oh,
I want to
yeah, go
say
ahead,
that
please.
I don't find this harder at all. I think the interface has actually improved. There are glitches in it, but I've been giving in Gitcoin rounds for, too long. And this round seems much more seamless, to be honest. The interface worked faster. There were a couple of buttons that I wasn't sure where to press, but I think it's gotten a lot easier to use, actually.
Yeah, thanks for that, Grace. That's actually similar to what I wanted to say, is that many of you know that my beginning in actually doing things with crypto was December of 2021, so just over a year ago. And it was actually Antonio who helped me set up my first wallet and taught me what liquidity pools are. And I would say in the year that I've been playing in the crypto world, not only between us, and not only following it, but playing in it, I feel like it is changing so quickly that, like some people have made the claim, I know Antonio has, I've heard others do it too, that the Web3 world is kind of where the internet was in 1995. Before Internet Explorer, before Netscape Navigator, before web browsers, where you had to do command line coding to use the internet. And in many ways, Web3 is still there. Is like meaning that in a not very long amount of time, these tools are going to become much easier to use, much more invisible, meaning the design is so good you don't have to see how it works. It just works. And that's when its truly transformative potential is going to reveal itself. And I feel like this effort to decentralize the management and the development, here in this case, improving software as a community process, that this is huge. This is a really big deal. And so I just want to encourage anyone who wants to participate in this Gitcoin round. We want to set up at least one training. We're sort of too busy to do a bunch of them, or else we do more, where we could actually, like we did in the last Gitcoin round, we can help you set up a digital wallet. We can help you learn how to navigate GitHub and Gitcoin. And then we can help you donate to the projects. What we did before is we actually gave people crypto, because getting crypto on a wallet is still a challenging thing. Like how to buy crypto from normal money, from fiat money, is still challenging for people. And so we helped people through that and then gave them recommendations of projects to fund. And I would say, reinforcing what Grace said, the way they display these 40 projects now, and now you can add them to a short list, it's actually very easy for you to pick your own projects. The visual layout is so much better to say, oh, there are 40 projects. I can pick which ones. I add them to a short list, and then I can fund all of them at once. And so it's actually pretty easy to do that now. And so we can walk a few of you through that would like to learn how to support Bioregion projects and the other projects. Basin DAO that John just mentioned is one of the 40 projects. And so, so that's something I just wanted to say, is that this, almost done. This Gitcoin round is for 13 more days. And we're sharing $333,000 in matching funds for the climate round. It's actually $1 million in matching funds in total. And so, so this is a good opportunity to play this game and to help some real projects, and even to do it without needing money, because we'll help you put enough money on your wallet. It turns out if you donate $1 to a project, because of the mathematics of quadratic funding, the larger number of donors increases the matching of the money you give. So actually $1 donations are a big deal in the way Gitcoin works. So we can give you like, $20 worth of Ethereum, and you can give it to 10 projects and pay the gas fees. And you will actually give them a lot more than $10 in benefits. So we did this last time and it really worked. So we'll do it again this time. So I just want to name that. And I see Antonio has his hand up. So Antonio, please.
Yeah, it just reminded me with Chelsea Green cutting off the publishing, it might be a good opportunity to re-explore the idea of turning the book into an NFT because the beauty of blockchain is the composability. And right now we're looking at Gitcoin as kind of like a single application. But in fact, because Gitcoin's built on Ethereum, it can interact seamlessly with every other application built on Ethereum. So there could be a potential where people are buying the book and it's contributing to a matching pool. There could be a situation where you read the book and complete the course and you get an NFT and that gives you access. So it just opens up a lot more possibility for creativity. And I think that's kind of the name of the game with this Web3 stuff, is how we also integrate it more deeply into our community and business models too.
Antonio, we're going to talk about that because I'm wanting to set up print on demand publishing for my book so people can still get it online. But it'd be amazing if that print on demand was through NFTs. So we should talk about who, if you know how to do that, or who could help us do that. Similarly, we'll be talking about NFTs for the enrollment in the design school we're creating, because then we can airdrop things and evolve what membership means and do all of that with a seamless, basically an advanced CRM, customer relations or client relations management system. Using NFTs is so much more agile. Just it's incredible what we can do to take what are basically database management systems and add all these other interoperabilities. This is the secret of Web3 that people don't understand yet. And it's such a big deal. So thanks for that. I would love to move, let's see, what time is it? It's 11:06. I'd love to spend a little time talking about the design school, because and I want to explain how the idea of the design school came into being, because it's not like I had this master plan. You probably have all guessed that I'm pretty improvisational, and I respond to what's happening in the moment in as authentic of a way as I can. And that's part of the reason I'm as successful as I am, is I'm working mostly, to the extent I'm able, I'm working with what's real, rather than my own delusional idea of what I think will work that actually has very little relationship to reality. Like, I've got this grandiose idea. I spent 3 months thinking about it, never checked if it would really work. You know, in that sense. Hola, buenas, ¿cómo estás? And so what I want to share is that this idea for the design school is everywhere in what I've written and talked about for the last several years. Those of you who knew me when I was talking about culture design and creating a planetary network of culture design labs, this is like 2014, 2015, 2016. You might notice that bioregional learning centers, together with landscape activations, together with the online learning that we've done in learning journeys, looks an awful lot like culture design labs. That's not an accident. And for those of you who knew me before, back in like 2019 or 2009, 2010, trying to figure out how to build a social science of large scale change, what do you think we're doing now? We're actually doing it. And so there's a deep continuity in all of this, including creating a study group for my book, calling it Earth Regenerators. And then look at what we did with Earth Regenerators, like 1,000 times more than a study group for a book. It's sort of incredible, all that's come out of it. And so what happened for me was I had to go home to remember where I came from, to feel that history. It's like I went to Missouri, and while I was in Missouri, there was one morning at 3 o'clock in the morning, I wake up and I can't sleep. Hola, ¿cómo estás? And by 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm writing a poem. Just like, I feel like writing a poem. So I write a poem. That poem sure feels like it should be on the inner cover of a new book. So I write the preface of a new book. And then I write chapter 1. And I'm like, wait, I wasn't planning to write a book. And I'm writing a book because I was just at the Field Museum in Chicago, because I had just been to the Shed Aquarium in Chicago, because I'd just gone to a cave to live underground and feel with my body 400 million years of history in the Ozarks Plateau. And then I'm seeing like friends from high school and my brothers and my sister. And as I'm sitting in all of it, the thing that hit me was that I am a living body with about 30 years of experience transforming and synthesizing knowledge across hundreds of fields. Like in 2002, I started to design an undergraduate major at the University of Illinois. And the first thing we did was we looked at all of the course offerings for the University of Illinois and found that 380 existing courses could be part of an undergraduate major in Earth Systems, Environment, and Society. We didn't look at graduate courses, only undergraduate courses. There were almost 400. And then later it was looking at all of the social, ecological, and biological sciences that synthesize in cultural evolution. Or when I worked at the International Center for Earth Simulation, and we were trying to integrate 120 sciences using the tools of high performance computing, data visualization, or scientific visualization, and data federation. And so I just have this weird history. I'm a strange guy, Missouri chicken farmer who did all these things. And what I realized was our travel through those museums in Chicago and into the Ozarks, that I brought a lens because I had learned to see that the overarching umbrella for E.O. Wilson's vision of consilience, which is to put all of human knowledge together, actually already exists, and it's Earth system science. But almost no one knows that. Because Earth system science is the study of living planets, and we only know of one living planet. Earth system science requires planetary science, astronomy, cosmic evolution, stellar evolution. All these things relate to the astrobiology of our planet. So actually, Earth system science contains astronomy in this ironic way. But then when you get into something like human history or art studies, or art history, those are all subsets of animal behavior studies in the human lineage, which is a subset of cultural evolution, which is a subset of evolution, which is a subset of biology, which is a subset of ecology, which is a subset of living systems for the only planet we know that has living systems, the Earth. And so what came back to me really strongly was that somewhere a school, a design school for Earth regeneration needs to be created that teaches people deep technical knowledge of Earth system science, of complexity and emergence, of pro-social, of trauma healing, of all like this is so much bigger than what any of us signed up for at Earth Regenerators. Like, come read chapters of Joe's book and attend a webinar. You know, like, look where we've come. And what we're doing with bioregional activators is a subset of it. The activation of bioregions is a design track within it. What I realized was that this framework of consilience with the Earth system sciences, which by the way is a secret, I'm the only one I know of who says this. I've never met anyone else describe Earth system science this way. If you look at the Stockholm Resilience Center, they're pretty ignorant of the social side. And if you go to a place like Future Earth, which works with the Stockholm Resilience Center, it's like top-down academic research, like UN-sanctioned social science. We need indigenous wisdom traditions and medicinal, plant medicine and spirituality, and we need Aldo Leopold and Wendell Berry and these kinds of things. We need Joanna Macy. These are placeholders for the deeper fields they represent. And somewhere in that, I was like, oh, this is the design school I've been trying to build all of my life. I ended up benching an article I wrote in 2017 where I named this. I said, we need a design school for global collapse. I wrote it on Medium. It's sort of uncanny. Like, I went back and reread it. I was like, 6 years ago, I wrote that. We did it. To the word, we did it. Holy shit. And so this design school is, in a way, it's like the next evolutionary step of what we're doing. And I wanted to just name two pieces of it because there's so much to say. One piece is that Penny and I are gonna kill ourselves if we travel everywhere that people want us to come. We're like, how can we visit 100 bioregions this year? And I have a daughter, she needs her dad. And by the way, the anchor of inspiration for all of this is how Barichara is way ahead. And the rest of the world needs to learn from Barichara. How do we keep building the territorial regeneration of Barichara? I've got to be in Barichara more. And we're just like sitting in that crisis for about a week. And what became clear to us was that we need to activate 100 bioregions in the way the Great Lakes are doing now, where we're not physically there. But we're coming. The on-the-ground activation is really important. And we started feeling, what is the rhythm that makes sense? Like, well, wait, if every 3 months we do a 2 or 3 week trip to visit a bunch of neighboring bioregions with 2 or 3 months of buildup and follow-up in the way that Benji's work has represented in these last couple of months, of holding dialogues to prepare them, of helping them connect with each other, and then doing follow-up afterwards, that we could do 4 field site immersions for networks of bioregions, each of them connecting 20 or 25 bioregions, potentially, or just they continue catalyzing whether we're physically there or not. We'll get to 100 bioregions easily. That we can do design immersions in Barichara, like what Refi Barichara was. And that the design school can be online, but with an anchor to what's happening in Barichara. And the secret piece of this, I'll wait till this motorcycle goes by. The secret piece of this is what we stopped talking about in the last couple of months. It's Las Albercas and the Barichara Ecoversity. That's the piece we stopped talking about. We folded the Barichara Ecoversity Pledge community into bioregional activators. I think we made a bit of a mistake there. We have to recover something, to bring something back that got lost in the mix, that's been waiting for us. And that this work, Dan and I and Penny and I, we know, Stephen knows, some of you have been to Las Albercas and know what that land really represents, that we need an anchor bioregional learning center to teach the others. And so, so all of it's coming back into coherence. We sort of pushed in a new direction and then we're folding it back together, like the way taffy works. You stretch it and fold it back into itself. And so I just want to name this. We're envisioning something like Refi Barichara or on the ground week-long immersions, maybe twice a year in Barichara, and traveling to activate networks of bioregions, maybe 4 times a year, and then online engagement, sustaining things throughout. And so that's what I wanted to share. There's a lot more to say, but this at least is a starting point for conversation. And Jan has his hand up. So Jan, please.
Yeah, just, couldn't agree more. I don't think it was time wasted, right? Just because you took a little detour traveling, it's a confirmation that these things work if you reach out and you build these relationships. What I'm hearing from you is really that you should look into a train the trainer approach, right? You need to get through Las Albercas, get the small groups of people or individuals enabled, and that might mean giving them a little bit of a handbook. You're a good writer, right? I think maybe just starting on a few pages of some material that you can give to somebody who then, on behalf of the network, goes into a bioregion so that you too don't have to all the time. I think that is probably, that would be my input.
Yeah, our goal was never to be the people traveling the world activating, but to do a really strategic push of activation until it's a pattern language people recognize that they can do themselves. So I just want to ask if either Penny or Benji has something you'd like to share, because this has sort of been just the 3 of us playing off each other to catalyze and clarify it. So I don't know if Benji or Penny, if either of you has something you'd like to share. Penny? Benji first.
I could say something first, simply because it ties into what Jan just brought in, and that is that we're also, Joe's alluded to the fact, or more than alluded to the fact, that we're also collaborating with Pro Social World. And I think one of the possibilities there is Pro Social World is trying to get a bunch of pro-social facilitators on the ground in landscapes, actually holding and creating these pro-social containers. And so there might be an opportunity for, if we're training trainers, there to be some overlap there in pro-social training and bioregional activation. And there's just so much room for creativity, especially when we're partnering with such amazing organizations. So I just want to bring that little piece in. I don't really think I have anything else big to add. I think you told the story well.
Yeah.
Penny.
Yeah, and I would just add that the work groups, workflows that we were talking about before would still continue inside this school. So things like the bioregional blockchain that Antonio was going to be leading on, the tool builders coming together, those kinds of things it's sort of like the way we've been thinking about it is like design labs, or the ways that we can design to support the bioregions that we're supporting, and just a lot of other trainings inside this design school. So for instance, I will lead something with trauma healing, and Joe's going to lead his thing, Benji will lead his thing. So it can really open up into something really, really impactful.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I see Medi has her hand up. Medi, please.
I just want to say that my heart sings and my body relaxes to hear where you've got to. It's no accident that your body's telling you to slow down, Joe. And it's wonderful to hear where you are. And yeah, I really agree with Jan. It's not, the detour is part of the learning process. And it's beautiful to hear how quickly you've actually responded to what life and your body are telling you. So I've got a grin from ear to ear.
Thank you. And Midi, I think you'll grin also that we're really aware that we're building upon all that Earth Regenerators has done. And so we're holding the tenderness of how to be less disruptive than necessary. We know we're being disruptive. and we're just feeling into that. So that's just another piece of this, of how to invite that continuity.
I want to invite you to go on being the natural disruptor that you are, and let Earth Regenerators learn to deal with disruption.
When do I get to hug you, Midi? Oh my gosh. I've been asking that question for a while for a number of reasons. The other thing I just want to say is that this is a way to write my new book, because the idea for the new book, the idea for the new book is really, what did we learn about walking the design pathway that was written about 3 years ago, now that we're doing it? And so it just felt like I need to explain more of what we did in Earth Regenerators, what it's meant to do this work in Barichara. Like, for example, how we don't even have to mention trauma and it just comes up on its own because it's so pervasive. It's really concrete things that show people what it feels like to live this way. And that we have actually got to the point we know how to live into the design pathway. In 3 years, we figured out how to live into it. Notice we still have a ton of the pathway to walk. We got to create a bunch of stuff, but this really feels necessary. And so I want to be able to teach again, like I did in the learning journeys, giving weekly webinars, and also share the chapters of my book to actually get feedback and basically create a time frame where it makes me write. Or, I continue writing the chapters. I can write a chapter in 1 to 2 hours. I'm fast. So if I need to write a chapter a week to keep up with the courses I'm teaching, that'll be easy, even if I'm really busy. And so the idea is to write the book while teaching it and getting the feedback from the participants, basically just to get me to write the damn thing. Otherwise, I'll play with daughter and never get around to it, because playing with Elise is a higher priority to me than writing. And so I just we wanted to share this with you all, to just tell you that this will all become much more clear in the next couple of weeks. We anticipate launching it officially on March 1st. And so we actually have good sense of what the business model is, how to do it, how people can join and participate. So we're ready to roll. We actually have people wanting to be on a waiting list for joining the design school. So we're going to send out a sign-up form for people to get on the waiting list so that we can officially launch it on March 1st. So all this is coming because it's really a natural continuation of what we're already doing. So it's not like we need to do anything more. It's that everything we do just becomes more coherent, which will make it easier to do. And so I don't know if Penny, do you have anything else you want to say in closing? I think this might be a good time for us to bring the call to an end. What time is it? It's 11:25. Maybe if we can just do like a quick word or phrase checkout after Mitty shares, because Mitty has her hand up.
I just want to say you've got the most amazing resource. He's sitting just next to you on my screen with the design school. You've got Dan Gonzalez arriving in Colombia. And what a power piece he is going to be for the development of the design school.
Yeah, Dan's got a few skills up his sleeve. Maybe like a word or phrase checkout. I'll start and go first. I feel full, vibrant, and alive. And I'll pass it to Penny.
Oh. Energized. Benji.
I feel so good after having heard Meaty's reflections to the design school. Dan.
Onward, fellow humans. Jan.
A fresh meme out of the Gitcoin space around Kevin O'Walkie is LFG. Let's effing grow.
Oh, would you like to pass it forward?
Sorry, I dropped the ball there. Antonio.
It feels like we're getting good traction in the mud. Stephen, did you go yet?
No, I haven't. This is what I was born for. Mitty?
To make lotuses, you need mud. Kieran.
Kieran might not be able to join us, actually. Kieran is in class. And Kieran said excited and grateful in the chat. That does it.
Is that all of us now?
I believe
All of us
so.
That was it. That's everyone.
That's it.
So, Benji, if you can just download the recording and then upload it somewhere I can download it. Thank you, everyone, for a beautiful call. We'll do a Bari Show updates call tomorrow as well. So, get to tell you a little bit about a conversation I had yesterday with the ladies of the Syntropic Agroforestry Collective. They don't want to call it a school anymore. There'll be more about that soon. And yeah, thank you. And I'll quote Dan quoting me, onward, fellow humans.